Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Inside Now. We are live, and we're going to be talking World Championship Wrestling. We will briefly go over 1985's June 22nd. We'll briefly go over that, and then we'll move to June 29th. But since I don't have any of my stuff because my computer's in the shop, Rodney will go over all this with us right now.
And I will charge you no extra. Normally I would charge extra for that, but there's no extra charge tonight.
Since you're getting zero, we'll give you triple what you're getting tonight.
All right, well that makes sense. All right, so not the first time I've gotten that either. We open up the programs. Tony Schiavone has a very special announcement that Ron Garvin, who lost a loser leave TBS town match, will now be reinstated by order of the NWA. Possibly Jim Crockett, maybe Bob Geigel, not sure, but one of those have said, you know what, it was a bad thing that happened to Ron Garvin, so we're going to reinstate him. And so now we've made the loser leave town just totally useless. Anyways, Ron Garvin is back on the program. Of course, he's not on this one yet. Then it comes up with a tag team match, Buzz and Brett Sawyer against Randy Barber and Larry Clark. Jack, who do you think won that one?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it was them Sawyer boys, some stiff guys.
Yeah, I'm Sawyer boys. I guarantee you, probably would you say maybe a power slam in that one?
Yeah, I'd take that bet.
Then we have an interview with Tully Blanchard and Baby Doll. Of course, Tully Blanchard still the world television champion. Then a very special interview with the Cowboy Bill Watts from Mid-South. Brent, you were able to see that interview. What was his conversation?
He was going to be in a six-man tag match with the Russians, Khrushchev, Nikita Koloff, and Ivan Koloff against Dick Slater, Bill Watts, and Pez Whatley.
Excellent. And you know that. And when this was typically one of Bill Watts' one of his better interviews, when he was able to talk about America, and he built America up and talking about the low down Russians, communists, and all that they are.
Would this been around the same time the Stampede was alive in '85? Would that have been the same?
I believe you'd be right. And I think probably when the Midnight Rider was there, because Dusty remember doing some of the interviews for the Midnight Rider. All right, then we have Magnum TA against Paul Garner. Magnum TA, the United States heavyweight champion, stiff competition from Paul Garner. Brent, how do you think this one ended up?
I think maybe within 24 seconds, Magnum TA belly to belly.
Belly to belly. All right, then we have Dusty Rhodes in a tremendous interview, I'm sure. Of course, we haven't been able to see this. We're just kind of doing the rundown. But, you know, Dusty always doing a tremendous interview, probably reviewing what happened last week what's happened with him with Baby Doll and the big challenge that he's made.
I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm coming to the arm there. I'm going to whip your tail. And when I get through, I'm going to whip Baby Doll's tail. I'm going to do all that.
She'll be up in the cage. She'll be up in the cage.
That's right. That's
in the ring. She's going to have a good seat up there where Tully Blanchard beat up Dusty Rhodes. All right. Then we have an interview with Dick Slater, and he talks about the hostages in Beirut. Then we have a match with the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant, against Carl Styles. Apparently a return match, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe not. Jack, what are the chances Carl Styles won that match?
0.
Absolutely. And then we have an interview with Ric Flair, tremendous world heavyweight champion, styling and profiling. Tully Blanchard against Terry Flynn. Dusty during that match, at the end of the match, Dusty and Tully have a confrontation. Then a video footage of the Road Warriors against David Dillinger and Joel Deaton. It's the World Tag Team Champions, Ivan and Nikita Koloff, against Alan Martin and Mark Cooper. Brent, what do you think about that one?
Oh, I'm pretty sure Mark Cooper and Alan Martin. I bet they won that match with the Alabama sickle. I'm pretty sure they won that match and just well.
You don't think there's a surprise there?
No, I don't think that's. I think the Russian sickle and maybe. Well, now they could have won it with the Russian sickle, or they could have done the Shinnomaki or the Cobra Hold or whatever they call that.
Could very well be. Then we have the interview with the superstar Billy Graham. Then a 6-man tag team match: Ric Flair, Ole, and Arn Anderson against Rocky King, Pez Whatley, and the Italian Stallion. Tremendous match. What it seems like I remember seeing that match. Anyway,
I'm pretty sure Italian Stallion probably lost that
one. I believe you might be right. Magnum TA was on the program. He was talking about Flair, and they have, of course, Magnum TA, the Flair, and the Andersons have a stare down. Interview with Jimmy Valiant. Then it's an interview with Ivan and Nikita Koloff, and they show the footage of where Nikita, and I think by popular demand, where Nikita gives the Russian sickle to David Crockett. And I believe they've asked, and I think they were asked many, many times to see that over and over again. It is Buddy Landel against Jason Walker. Interview with Black Bart, the national heavyweight champion. And then it's Thunderbolt Patterson against one of the Rock and Roll RPMs, Tommy Lane. It's another interview with Dusty Rhodes. And then, of course, one of my favorite all-time great ones, former Boston battler Kevin Sullivan is doing an interview. I'm sure that that was riveting. Mr. Sullivan talking about Abu Dhabi and all the rest of his family. Then it's Kevin Sullivan again.
Tree of Woe.
Tree of Woe, and also Slug.
Led with the leopard. He laid with the leopard. In the Malaysia jungle, he laid with the leopard.
Laid with the leopards, yes. It's Kevin Sullivan against Gerald Finley. Yeah. Okay, then we got superstar Billy Graham against Mark Hill. Thunderbolt Patterson had an interview, and then it's Black Bart against Nick Busick. I like Nick. I remember him. I think it was
Big yeah.
He's fantastic. Then they end the program with the United States heavyweight champion Magnum TA, and that ends for the kind of the rundown of June the 22nd, 1985.
All right, let's look at June 29th, Saturday, as seen on WTBS, the Superstation.
And it is the return of David Crockett. Standing ovation for all time. It's the return of David Crockett.
I thought he was gone. I thought Nikita took everybody out of their misery. He was big baby face after that, I understand.
Yeah, very. Yeah. Anyway, and then Tony and David said that they were going to see a brand new tag team that they've never seen before. David Crockett, especially a team that I'm sure none of you are familiar with, named the Midnight Express, and their manager Jim Cornette will make their debut on World Championship Wrestling today. Then we have the interview with Black Bart, the national heavyweight champion. Britt.
Oh yeah, I thought it was a great interview, but I'm going to tell you, if I was Black Bart, I would have said, "Now listen, that means if I have a loser leave town match, and we'll just go ahead and have that match today, because if I lose, I ain't gonna have to leave town anyway. So I'm just going to go ahead and not even worry about it. At least I'm the national heavyweight champion, and I guess I could lose this title and still be given back to them since they don't mean
well, you know, the real injustice here was that. If you're going to let Ronnie Garvin off the hook and bring him back, why don't you give him his title back too? I mean, that was part of the process of him getting screwed over. So,
yeah, I didn't.
Anyway.
Absolutely. Then we have a match as the national tag team champions, Ole and Arn Anderson, to face Alan Martin and Roy George. Jack, what was going on here?
Roy, looked good in them green tights. And I actually wrestled Roy one time, and I lived through it.
And it is the Roy George, it's the referee, Roy George.
Yes.
Brent, what did you think was going on here?
Did it not seem that Ole and Arn were very aggressive towards Roy George in this match?
Yeah.
I thought they were actually aggressive with him.
Yes.
Did he say something in the back? Was something going on? I don't know.
It was. I detected a little bit of hostility there. I'm not quite sure. It all started when he tagged in and Ole got him, and it was rough. I'll tell you, it was rough for him. And in the end,
and I will go on record and say I think the world of Roy George. One of those great referee, but boy, they didn't give him the time of day.
Well, maybe we can get Roy on and let him talk about that because it seemed to be a little stiff in that. Anyway, in the end, it's Ole coming off the top rope with the knee on Roy George, and then he's into the arm bar of Roy George. It's over. Of course, no surprise, Ole and Arn are the winners in that tag team match. Then we have the interview with Ivan and Nikita Koloff, the World Tag Team Champions. They talk about the Road Warriors. They talk about, of course, Nikita talks about Ric Flair, and of course, they talk about David Crockett being the special guest referee with a match between Nikita Koloff and Ric Flair for the World Heavyweight Championship. And I thought that turned out really good. Brent, what did you think?
Oh, I thought Nikita, I'm telling you, more and more I see him, what an impressive man he was. I mean, the way he did things was just so good. He was so good at what he did. And when he kind of moved towards David Crockett, I thought, oh, now this is intense. You believed it. You believed that Nikita Koloff would kick your tail at any moment. I thought it was great.
Jack?
Oh, I agree. Totally agree. Nikita was on top of his game. And the thing is he only continued to get better.
Yeah.
Well, I have to admit, I liked the way David Crockett handled this. He backed down not 1 inch. Even when Nikita stepped towards him, he didn't back down. He stood his ground the entire time. I liked that. It was a very nice touch. All right, then match number 2 of the program. It is Ivan Koloff against Gerald Finley. Jack, let me ask you this: what's going on here?
Well, Gerald did fairly well, considering the fact that he got killed.
Brett?
This is what I seen in this match, and I mean maybe I'm wrong, but I noticed that Ivan would give him stuff, but he would mess it up. And he kept on trying to give him moves and holds. One time he was supposed to drop behind him and give him a roll up, in 1-2, but he fell. He fell completely down, and they did go back and redo it again. But I just seen that Ivan was trying to give it to him, but for some reason Gerald just didn't. He just wasn't gelling good with Ivan.
Yeah, he was. I think to me, Gerald normally very good. I think he was just off. He was just off in that one, and Ivan did try. I'll give it that. Then we have the interview with Ric Flair, the World Heavyweight Champion, and in this he's talking about Hollywood because they're going to be going to Los Angeles, and he says in this interview he doesn't really particularly care about Hollywood getting involved in the wrestling business. How things change in the next few years. However, there you go. So it talks about Magnum TA and Nikita Koloff. And he talks about the Great American Bash. And he talks about that in the end, he's going to make Nikita Koloff his gardener. Yeah. And then he also said he was going to go to Florida. Tremendous interview, Brent.
Yeah, I thought it's just Ric Flair is always good. I don't think that Ric Flair has ever had an interview that's just been bad. I think they're all good.
Even if you could find a bad interview per se, it would still be better than anybody else's.
Sure. So. And even when he done his low key interviews, still very professional, top of the line, always with Ric Flair. Then it's an interview with Tony and David about Tully Blanchard. And then they go to Dusty Rhodes, and he talks about Betty Lou in the cage, going to hang the cage from the top of the ring and challenge Tully Blanchard to the barbed wire match. And then he's sitting there. He never did take a drink, but he pours himself a drink.
Tequila!
That's right. That's right. Brent, what did you think about this one?
All right. This is what it's all about, of talking about a match. Building a match up, barbed wire match. This is the way to do it. He did everything. He spit in the floor. He did the whole, this thing. Dusty showed why he was one of the greatest. He knew how to sell the ticket, and he was selling it for July 4th in the Omni in Atlanta. This show, the whole show was built around July 4th at the Omni. And Dusty did a tremendous job at that.
Jack?
Oh, yeah. totally agree. I love the touches of him. Playing the country music, Hank Jr. this time, and I mean, people liked him because he was one of us. He wasn't. Now he made more money than any of us ever will see, but he didn't act like it. And that's why I loved everything Dusty ever did.
And even behind the scenes, he didn't act it.
Yeah.
Dusty was a down to earth guy. He really was.
Yep.
The only thing I didn't like about his music was too loud, and it almost drowned him out.
But you know what I loved about it is he told the story of the barbed wire.
Yeah.
So he told the story of why you used the barbed wire. It was tremendous. I would have loved to seen that barbed wire match. There's no doubt.
And if you'll notice, we're not seeing any footage from any match, which is exactly how you're supposed to do it. You don't just give it to them, do something, then give it to them for free on TV. You just don't do it. All right, so match number 3, it's Mad Dog, Buzz Sawyer against Jim Deal. Of course, Buzz Sawyer wins that with the power slam. Jack, what did you think about this one?
I thought it was a fairly good match. I mean, it was all Sawyer, but it was good.
Oh, the drop kick.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was so. Buzz Sawyer was one of the greatest wrestlers. He just had, we talk about top 100 wrestlers of all time. Sometimes I don't even think Buzz Sawyer gets in that. And he deserves to be in that because he just was flawless in the ring. He just was. Everything he did looked great. I mean, one reason it looked great because, people believed it because the wrestler he was wrestling against believed it, but because he was beating them up actually. But he was so good. Buzz was great.
Yeah.
Then we have an interview with Tully Blanchard, Baby Doll. They are answering what Dusty just did earlier about the barbed wire, and I thought Tully did a tremendous job telling the story with Baby Doll being in the cage, and I think he did a tremendous job on that.
Was that when they were showing the ring over top of them?
I believe so, right?
Yeah, that camera angle. Yeah, I like that. That was really good, and they did a great job setting that up.
Yeah, that was it. Tully was he was another one of them guys that he was just great at what he did. I don't know that I ever saw Tully Blanchard have a bad moment. I really don't.
It's if you see it, it's rare. It's very rare, and right now, I believe he's the top guy there. From what I'm watching, this Tully Blanchard and Baby Doll really are the top.
And he's talking about being able to come dressed as you are, and then he puts all his
talking about how he was from Texas as well, and it was
just a good way of selling the ticket.
And Tully Tully was doing a great job. I mean, just an awesome job on this. Then we have the debut of Beautiful Bobby and Loverboy Dennis, the Midnight Express. I love the reaction of David Crockett when Jimmy Cornette's up there in the ring saying, "Hey, you in the cheap suit, come up here with that microphone." And it was like he didn't really know what Cornette was wanting to do, and maybe he didn't. And they're facing Dave Williams and Kerry Clark in this one. Jack, what do you think?
I thought it was a great debut match for him. If you'd never seen them before, you saw that this was a tag team to be reckoned with. And Cornette was vintage Cornette. I mean, he was great here.
Yeah. I don't think no more can be said about that. It was just tremendous. You want to debut on television, that's how you want to debut, the way the Midnight Express did.
It was shades of 1984 Mid-South Wrestling, if you ask me. Cornette was on top of his game, and they looked polished. A little bit later on, we'll talk about something that wasn't very polished. Anyway, and in the end, it's Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton winning the match with the low and the high. You hit him low, I hit him high. Bobby Eaton and the Midnight Express. Then Cornette does a tremendous interview right afterwards. I think so good, they decide to send him back for round 2 later in the program. But like I said, Cornette just on top of his game. I don't think he's the last year, 1984-85, some of the best stuff. And Jim was on top of his game, no doubt about it. Then we've got a match with Jimmy Valiant And again, I said must be the return from last week. It's Jimmy Valiant against Carl Styles. And I have a feeling that it was this. He fell for the exact same thing, elbow and then an elbow smash. And it was Jimmy Valiant at that one. Then we'll just move on. We'll have the interview with Dick Slater. Dick Slater's talking about Cornette, and I think Slater automatically knew when he saw Cornette in the midnight. Of course, he knew Dennis Condrey from back in his Southeastern days and even before Bobby Eaton as well. I think he saw something there, and he said, "I got to get my 2 cents worth." What did you think, Brett?
Yeah, Dick Slater was just a tremendous. He knew how to tell the story. He knew how to get the stuff over. He knew what he needed to sell. Dick Slater could do the interview. He could wrestle, and it didn't matter. It showed the difference between, and we'll talk about this later on about someone else that wrestles in this show. The difference between Dick Slater, Buzz Sawyer, Tully Blanchard, and someone else that's going to wrestle later on.
And then, of course, Slater talks about, he talked about Cornette, he talked about the Andersons, and he talked about Kevin Sullivan, apparently an incident that happened on a previous show. Then match number 6, we have the Italian Stallion against Black Bart, the national champion. And in this match, I don't know if you caught it, but they announced that Buddy Landell was going to be on the show later on in the program, but later on says, no, Buddy's not going to be here. He'll be on a show in coming weeks. Apparently, Buddy
he did make it to the next show, so I guess he got woke up.
What did you think about this one?
I hate to be critical of Black Bart. I hate to be critical of Rick Harris, but he gave Italian Stallion nothing in this match. He absolutely gave him nothing, and he ate his lunch the whole time, And by the way, for people that don't know, he didn't actually take his lunch out and eat it. That's just the way we say in the business. He just gave him nothing in the match, why? I mean, it doesn't help you any. It doesn't get you any more over by just beating someone for 8 minutes in a match or 7 minutes. And I love Rick Harris to death. He's had great matches, but just for some reason he would. I mean, am I Jack? Am I wrong about this?
No, you're not wrong. And also, they had been kind of building Italian Stallion a little bit, so you really thought there was going to be a competitive match there, and it just did not happen.
Yeah, it's. I always find that when you're going to use a cheap finish of putting your feet up on the ropes, before you do that, you've got to make your opponent look like $1 million. And in this case, Italian Stallion looked like 10 cents. Anyway,
he didn't help Italian Stallion at all.
No. And normally in a match like this, you should be able to get both people over. With Tully Blanchard, we've seen it with him and Sam Houston. We've seen Ric Flair and Sam Houston. There's a way. There's a way of doing it, and everybody comes out looking good at the end. All right, in the next, we have Jimmy Valiant against Paul Jones. I think one of the best things I've seen with Paul Jones and Jimmy Valiant since they've come. What did you think, Brett?
You talking about? You said a match, right? Or you're talking about an interview?
No, this was an interview. I said match maybe, but this was an interview with Jimmy Valiant. He's talking about Paul Jones. He's talking about the Boogie Boy bringing out the package, the gift for Paul Jones, and it's the dog collars. They're going to have dog collar matches between Paul Jones and Jimmy Valiant. And then Paul Jones appears on the set, and I mean, just right up in his face.
Well, now, you got to remember the people in Charlotte where this match is going to take place. I think this was for the Great American Bash, I believe. People knows Paul Jones is an accomplished wrestler. I mean, they watched him. He was the Mid-Atlantic heavyweight champion. He was the Mid-Atlantic tag team champions. I mean, he had held. I think he was even the NWA World Tag Team Champion. So they knew he was
several times. I mean, he was tag team champions with Ricky Steamboat. He was tag team champions with Baron von Raschke. Now he's an accomplished wrestler, and I mean that intensity with Paul Jones was fantastic. I thought, and really set the stage because, and the way that Jimmy did it. As if he's surprised. Here, Paul Jones is by himself. No Billy Graham, no Abdullah the Butcher, no Barbarian. Just him and Paul Jones. And he puts the cane on the desk and gets him right in the face. And I thought it was awesome. Absolute awesome.
Yeah. And Jimmy Valiant did a great job. He said,
Yeah.
Hey, he was looking around like,
Yeah.
did that just happen?
Yeah.
Wow. It was good. It was good stuff.
Yeah.
And it wasn't written. It wasn't written, folks.
No, it wasn't written. It was awesome. It was awesome. And I'm liking Paul Jones every week. I really am. And I would like to have seen some of the stuff, and I think it's available with Paul Jones and the Assassins. I think it's equally as good. Next match, number 7, it's Manny Fernandez against Ken Glover. Of course, Manny Fernandez winning that one with the double forearms to the face. Jack, what do you think about that one?
Again, ate that lunch, didn't give Kent the time of day, which is sad. Kent's a pretty good worker. Just Manny Fernandez match.
Yeah, I'm going to go on past that one, and we can just go into the next.
There's always,
which, by the way, I talked to Kent today. He's doing really well. He had a leg amputated, I think earlier this year, or late last year, and but he said he's doing really well.
I always like to see old Ken Glover. He could have had a good match with people. I don't understand it. I just don't get it.
Well, our wishes and our prayers go out to Kent Glover. We hope he gets well soon. And now we have another interview with Buzz and Brett Sawyer. They're talking about the Ole and Arn Anderson, and they're also talking about the Italian Stallion. Brent.
It was a good interview, but Buzz is so that intensity of Buzz, and then in the complete opposite of Brett Sawyer.
Yeah.
Buzz did all the yelling, and Brett just talked. I thought it was a good combination with each other. Plus, if you never saw their matches, they had great matches with people. So they were a great tag team. Both of them were tremendous. Brett was as good as Buzz.
Jack.
Oh, I agree with that. I never understood why Brett didn't go farther than what he did. But he was good. He was good, and this was a good match.
Yeah, and just imagine, we don't really get to see very many of them, but just imagine when they're finally going to wrestle against the Midnight Express. You got to know. In fact, I think they actually the Midnight Express was just supposed to work Georgia, and they got over so well and that they decided to do the whole thing. So that's just because them working with Buzz and Brett, because those houses kept coming up in Georgia with the Midnight Express and Buzz and Brett.
And don't forget, Brett Wayne had already worked with Jim Cornette. In the summer of 1983, Georgia Championship Wrestling Superstars, he would work against. So he had already worked together with Cornette. So they had all those spots and stuff that they was going to work in their matches. So.
And then, of course, right after that, it's the second round. Jim Cornette's back. And, of course, all he's talking about is from now on, he's going to be providing some transportation for their opponents. He doesn't want to see it. He felt bad for the guy having to be carried out. So he's going to have stretchers and some attendants to start carrying their opponents out of the ring. I thought it was just brilliant. And I loved when when Tony Schiavone tried to shake his hand. He said, no, I don't do that, germs and stuff. Awesome. And the people really, they had seen him before. Atlanta had seen him before. But the people already screaming while he was doing his interview, we don't want to hear it. First week over, basically. He had the crowd right in their hands, right in the palm of their hands. Next match we have is match number 8. It's Sam Houston against Jason Walker, Tully Blanchard at the desk. Jack?
Good match. Sam, he lacked in size, so a lot of people didn't take him serious, I guess. But he was so skilled, even at that age. He was really good.
Yeah, I agree. It's Sam always was good.
Yep.
In the end, it's Tully Blanchard taking his weightlifting belt to Sam Houston. Dusty Rhodes out for the save. He pushes Baby Doll right on the floor. Did you notice that? Mm-hmm. It's like he ran right all over Dusty, ran all over Baby Doll.
You know what I enjoyed about this? I don't know if y'all noticed this. He comes in there, Dusty makes the big save. He jumps in the ring, and when Dusty gets to the ring, here comes Tully back over there, starts whipping Sam Houston, and Dusty has to get back out. That is talent. That is how you know how to get heat.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Again, Tully steals the show again, as far as I'm concerned. Interview with comes up next. Interview with Magnum TA. He talks about what just happened with Sam Houston. Of course, he talks about Kamala, the Ugandan warrior / giant with Skander Akbar. He talks about Ric Flair as well. Then, ladies and gentlemen, what we've all been waiting for. Another debut. I'm going to give it a little pause here for dramatic effect.
Yeah, about an hour.
The debut of the one and the only American Starship Eagle. Outstanding. If they're ever a candidate for the tie-dye brown mask and tights, the American Starship Eagle was it, ladies and gentlemen. And he was facing Mark Fleming from, I guess, one of the either Worldwide or Mid-Atlantic Wrestling show. Of course, David and Tony do their best for this match. Brent?
You know, there's one of those moments you just got to think to yourself. You ask yourself, what in the world were they thinking? I mean, what in the world were they thinking? The man had yellow tights. The only thing he was missing is Hulk Hogan didn't wear them furry. And I don't understand the part of the American Starship Eagle why we need to have furry bear stuff on. He even does the leg drop to win the match. I don't think he was a horrible wrestler, but it was just a horrible, horrible gimmick. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know what they were thinking. And if they didn't think that made them look horrible, that made them just look really bad. I mean, am I way off base here?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree. And we were talking before we came on about it was a tag team called Starship, but it was I believe Scott Hall was the other one. I think he went by Coyote, I believe was the name, probably because they couldn't say cocaine on the air.
Possible. It is possible. Well, anyway, the American Starship Eagle wins the match with the leg drop. And it's the first time I've ever seen an eagle lay an egg on television. There you have it. No extra charge for that one. The next match features the first appearance of the NWA World Junior Champion. I'm talking about Denny Brown as he faced Paul Gardner in this particular match. Jack?
You know, if you're going to be the junior champion, you would think you would put him in there with somebody that was also a junior weight to showcase that talent. Nothing against Paul Gardner. Think world of him. But you got a guy that's 6'6", 6'7", you know, against Denny, who's probably half that height. And Paul couldn't do the kind of stuff that Denny was good at. And Denny was great at what he did. No charisma whatsoever, but he was very good technically in the ring. But man, why didn't you put a Mike Jackson or an Alan Martin or somebody in there that could match up with him size wise and speed wise?
Brent?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think no more can be said about that.
In the end, it's Denny Brown winning the forearm with the Oklahoma Road. However, Tony Schiavone did not know what the move was. Apparently, they told him in his earpiece because he got it in the replay. All right, there you have it. Then it's an interview with Magnum TA and Manny Fernandez, and this particular one, Brent.
I frontwards that interview up when I saw Manny.
All right, yeah. And I will tell you, I watched it, and you missed nothing. Jack, go ahead.
I agree. There's nothing to be added.
And match number 11 is Dick Slater against Nick Busick. Again, I like that, Nick. I think he could have got some more in that, but in the end, it's Dick Slater actually coming off of the other rope towards the camera with the elbow to the top of the head, so if he misses it, don't get it on instant replay.
Now that was Big Bully Busick, right?
Yes.
And he was good here.
And
Yeah,
Nick
Nick was a great guy.
And he was big. I mean, he is big. I mean, you see when I saw him, all you see is potential, absolute potential. And in the end, it's Tully Blanchard with Baby Doll. They're talking Dusty. They're talking about that Dusty wants matches where Baby Doll is going to be his valet for the 30 days. And of course, talking about the barbed wire match again and what happened earlier. Tremendous, I think, pretty decent show. Of course, the highlights have to be the American Starship Eagle. Now we had a lot of good stuff with Tully Blanchard. We had
that match just makes me uncomfortable. I'm just sitting over here. That was 30 years ago, but I'm still embarrassed for him.
We saw the beginnings of the Midnight Express, and we're going to start seeing. We see Magnum TA. We've seen the Rock and Roll Express. Later on will come Terry Taylor, the Rock and Roll. We had seen the Midnight Express. Later on will come the Rock and Roll Express, and let's see Terry Taylor. Basically, almost the same crew of 1984 with Mid-South Wrestling, and they did tremendous business with that crew there.
We will be talking July, whatever that next week is, July something.
July,
if we can find it. All right, if we can find it.
It's on there. I actually watched it today.
Okay, so it is available. So we'll talk about that on the next episode of what we're talking about, World Championship Wrestling, seen on WTVS. A great show. All right, guys, are we ready to go? We got about 58 comments. We need to go through and see what they've got to say on here. So let's see what everybody's got to say on tonight's Victor Nash. Hello, guys. Hope all is well. How you doing, Victor? Glenn Allen Shelton, hello. Mickey Mayfield, hello everyone. Hope everyone's safe and warm. Ooh, it was a cold day around here yesterday. Hello, all not feeling well. Oh, so sorry here. Southeast Alabama. Daniel Lang, good evening, gentlemen. Richard Hood, good evening. Good evening to you. Glenn Allen Shelton, the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, the oldest governing body in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
So let's see. Dr. Philbo Grice said, hello, old wise ones. I was wondering who he's talking to. I think he must be seeing.
Yes, Jack. You know what he's talking about, Jack.
Yeah. Michael Halton, cheers to all. Hello to you. Michael Barr, 24 seconds. Wow, shortest match on Iraq.
Another one.
Let's see. Richard Hood, the Pistol Pez Watley was a great.
Yeah, the Pistol Man sure was.
Oh, he was a great guy too. Just a tremendous man.
Yeah.
Michael Barr. Oh, to none the Styles won the match. Brad Hunts, I think it's.
Hey, Brad.
Hey.
Daryl Glass, hello from Jacksonville Beach. Ron Garvin was one of the best.
Yep.
Michael Barr said the Alabama what bread? I don't even know where it was.
The Alabama sickle. You said the Alabama sickle.
The Alabama sickle. Yes, the Alabama sickle. That's the Russian. The Russian sickle just done the Alabama way. Victor Nash said that's the same episode with the three Road Warriors being interviewed with their backs turned to the camera, saying nothing on their backs, but the Russians got a yellow streak going down their backs. Dennis Cook said, yo, watching from Eastern Nebraska. Richard Hood said that Dick was an Atlanta police officer.
Yeah, he sure was.
I did not know this.
Yeah.
Michael Barr, Kevin Sullivan did some strange, weird, odd things.
I was just in the dressing room.
Mickey Mayfield said Kevin Sullivan, the Purple Haze, Mark Lewin were very odd combo later on. You put Mark Lewin and Kevin Sullivan together, you're going to have Sullivan is a devil worshiper.
Actually, he has gone on record of saying that he purposely never mentioned the devil or Satan because he did not want to come. He wanted to allude to it, but he never wanted to say it because that's not the way he believed.
Yeah, that was his. Michael said, Rodney, it is Arn, not Earn. What did Ern Anderson do again? Michael Barr, Brett, you're right. Nikita made the fans believe that he was one tough wrestler. He was good. Richard Hood said, I like Nikita better as a heel.
Yes.
But boy, the America's team that we'll be talking about, I guess about a year later, is they do well with that. Mickey Mayfield, Nikita was great until he turned face and grew hair. That is true. When he came back and had but he wasn't as big anymore either. So
No.
Daniel Lang, it's not Arn, it's Ern. It's Ric Flair's favorite cousin, Arnold Anderson.
Arnold Anderson. Okay. We stand corrected.
Michael Barr said Ric Flair's interviews were some of the best. Quentin Ward says, good evening, Jack.
Hey, buddy.
Michael Barr, good evening. Victor Nash, was there ever a rematch for the world title between Flair versus Landell? The first time Landell won, but Flair said the match went over 5 minutes of the contract. I don't know. Do y'all know?
That was short-lived. I'll just say.
Glenn Allen said, you guys and girls need to watch Flair Dusty's interviews. Yes. Very important to watch there. Michael Barr, Brent, you do a good impression of Dusty. Had a lot of time to spend around Dusty during the Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling days and Wild World Championship Wrestling. I remember one time I was doing the announcing in Chattanooga, and I forgot. And when he had intermissions, he wanted you to tell what was coming up. So I forgot to do it because I was giving away a bunch of stuff during the day. And I remember I got back and Dusty was waiting for me standing there. I said, baby, you know better. You get back out there and you tell people what's coming up and don't you ever not do it again. And I never forgot it after that, after he told me, never forget it. Never forget it. It's important to tell the people what's coming up, baby. Richard Hood, Buzz really knew how to work. He was a great loss. Yes, he was. He was a tremendous wrestler. I won't say that Buzz was a tremendous person, but Buzz was a tremendous wrestler. Michael Halton, agreed totally, has been solid his whole career. Guys breaking in would be wise to watch his work as a heel. Yes, they should make people watch matches of Tully Blanchard. Bubba Griffin, Pensacola House. Robert Walker is right here.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, guys, good to see you. Brett, I just sent you an email with some video clips you may like. We will put them on. As a matter of fact, Robert, I want to share the Wrestling 2, and we're gonna do that one time. I want to share the Wrestling 2. There was a song written about him, and I've meant to do it, but things got bad. But we need to listen. We need to listen to the I think it was called New Power or something like that. We've got to hear that and listen to it.
I remember that. Yeah. Let's do it.
Terry Alistograph. Good evening, Brett, Roddy, and Jack. Victor said his computer is in the shop. Yeah. Glenn Allen Shelton, Bad Mood Bart. Let's see. Victor said he's good. He's good. That's why he's hosting. I think somebody asked if they had Rodney's email address, and Robert will get that. We'll get that to you. I'll send it over to you so you have that. Victor said. Mickey Mayfield said Paul Jones was a bit intense on the mic.
Yeah. It made you believe it. It made you believe, and he was awesome. He's awesome. And you know what? In any position he has been in, Paul Jones, he's been awesome in. Even he came to Georgia. He was a Georgia champion, beat Dick Slater right on television. And of course, I think it was about 6 weeks later he lost on television with the help, or Slater won. Beat Paul Jones with the help of Bearcat Wright with the hot cup of coffee to the face. It was awesome.
Daniel said when Paul Jones wrestled as Mr. No, excuse me. I didn't mean to do that in everybody's ear. I'm sorry about that.
What was that? Was that pizza? No.
I think. Oh no, it was Chick-fil-A. Very good.
Chick-fil-A, Chick-fil-A.
When Paul Jones wrestles Mr. Florida, he had the worst mask ever. The whole bottom half of his face hung out. Stuart Kemp said, I know we razz on Manny Fernandez, but if the office was PO'd at what he offered guys, they wouldn't put him on TV, so the office is to blame. There is truth in that. Yes, we'll give that part of that to the office. Leonard Gross, I have seen Jimmy in New York in Crockett, but he really shined in Memphis. He came in as a heel, but he was so over here. It did not take Jarrett long. He should be a face. Jarrett was better on what worked, much better than Lawler. Well, we know why Lawler didn't want to be the baby face there. I mean, that just made sense. Stuart Kemp said Tully was excellent. Yes, cowardly heel, no doubt. Yep. Joe Hamlin, hey guys, just wanted to say I really enjoyed these discussions, and I hope y'all are doing well. We're all doing good. Richard Hood said Dan Spivey. Paul Hatchett is on us. Hey guys.
Hey, Paul.
Michael Barr said American Starship Who, never heard of him. Maybe he was a horrible dresser instead of a wrestler.
Actually, he became a male model after his wrestling career was over with. So
what a way out of this world. Yeah. Oh, that was a good one, Michael. I enjoyed that. Yes, Scott Hall asked
Coyote.
Thank you. I couldn't get that word out.
We're American Starship.
All right. I must have missed that. I'm kind of glad
it was they were in the Mid-Atlantic as the tag team. I don't think they were ever on WCW.
Okay. Dennis Cook, the award for best commentary moment tonight goes to Jack Lord in regards to Daniel Lang said the American Starship broke up in the Central States, stayed there. Ego went to the Crockett's. Okay. Michael Barr agreed, Jack, a junior heavyweight should wrestle another person in his size category. Michael Barr said, Rodney, what was it you mentioned was unpolished? Was it this American Starship goes goose egg land, dude?
Exactly right. That was, whoo, my goodness.
Daniel Lang said Sullivan was mad at the After magazines for calling him a devil worshiper. That won't tell you what. They had some of the. We're gonna do that. We're gonna read on this program some of the crazy stories that Bill Apter did in his magazine. They were crazy. They were way out there, and we just got to read a few of those from those people who have never got an Apter magazine in their life.
And for years, all I did was look at the pictures. When I started reading it, I'm thinking, "That's dead." One night, I said, "What is this stuff?"
Where do they come up with that stuff at? James Casey, howdy folks. How you doing, James? Michael Barr, hot cup of coffee to the face. Man, that had to burn. It was part of the show.
Actually, Bearcat Wright actually threw it, and they had a double knockout between him and Paul Jones. They were doing a double count, and then Bearcat Wright threw that coffee in Slater's face, which revived him. And then Slater ended up beating Paul Jones on television for the Georgia Championship.
Let's talk about something right now that everybody has asked about. People have asked, who do you think never got a world heavyweight championship that should have got it? I'm going to start this out, and I believe that we all will agree with this. Ted DiBiase.
Yes.
He should have been a world champion somewhere.
Yes.
Because he was so good. Jack, who do you think? Who was the one guy that you looked at and said, listen, he should have been a world heavyweight champion. He never was. They never gave the belt to him.
Tully Blanchard.
Yeah. Tully would have been a tremendous world heavyweight champion because he knew the psychology. He was in great shape. He could have went an hour if he needed to go an hour. Tully Blanchard. Rodney?
Honestly, Dick Slater. Slater could do the interview. He could dress. We saw him in an Olivia original robe in this particular show. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the great Georgia heavyweight champions was Dick Slater, right alongside of wrestling too. So I picked Dick Slater right up there.
What about Dick Murdoch?
It's possible, yes.
If he wouldn't have done his comedy stuff, take his comedy stuff out of it, would he have been a good world champion?
I think so.
Now, Dr. Philbo Grice says Jack should have been world champion.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, he could have been.
Yeah. If Magnum TA would not have had the accident, would he have been a good world heavyweight champion?
I think he would have.
I think he could too, because I think he was learning.
Rodney, I think he would have been a major player for years to come.
I think he would have been a short termer, just like Dusty and Tommy Rich. I don't think it would be something for long term, but sure, he could have been. He could have been, but I don't think it would have been a long term thing for him.
What about Paul Orndorff?
Yeah, sure, he could have.
Yeah, Paul had that intensity that, that he brought that realism to it. So yeah, I think Paul would have been great.
Yeah, and Paul, he knew psychology. He could have, and he'd have been a different world champion. He would have done a little bit more than Flair, Harley Race, those guys. How about Arn Anderson? Could he have been world champion?
Yeah, I think he could have. He cut great interviews, and of course he could. I always considered Arn one of probably the best workers in the world. I mean, he's in that top 10, in my opinion, of my list of guys.
Rodney, who else do you think could be? Should have been world champion.
Terry was the UWF champion, but I don't really classify that as a world title. That's more of a regional title. But Terry Gordy could have been a world champion easily. He had the size and he could actually do the interview if necessary, and he can work either way. That's important in whoever you have. It's important that they would be able to work either way. Wrestling too actually could work either way. But one of the things about being a world champion, you can't be a masked man.
This is true.
Bill Eadie would have been a great champion as well.
Yeah.
Oh, he would have. Oh, he would have been tremendous. Mickey Mayfield said, Junkyard Dog should have been world champion.
Yeah.
I think he could have done well.
Yeah.
He could have done well. I don't know that he could have had long matches. That would have been the only thing.
No.
Robert was saying Tim Woods, and he's right. Tim Woods could have been a great champion.
Mickey Mayfield said Steve Kern. He was a good wrestler.
Yeah, before
he became a fabulous one. I don't know what happened to him when he became a fabulous one. He just got horrible for some reason. David Von Erich.
Yeah, David was actually being groomed to be world champion.
He was going to be world champion, and they were actually going to put the title on him. Wahoo McDaniel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And Robert Walker said Tim Woods.
Tim Woods, yeah.
Tim Woods would have been a great champion. Michael Barr said that Paul Orndorff could have been world champion for a long run, and Arn Anderson as well. Richard Hood said Terry Taylor should have been a world champion. Hey, we love you, Richard, but I don't know if we all can agree. We can agree with Terry Taylor. Now, don't get me wrong. Terry was a good wrestler.
Yeah.
He was a good. Everything he did was solid, looked good. There was nothing that he did that looked bad. But man, he'd had to have been a babyface champion, because when they turned him heel, he was horrible. I mean, he was bad. Daniel Lang said David Von Erich. Richard Hood said Tony Atlas.
He could have.
Tony Atlas. Michael Barr said, could Jerry Stubbs have been world champion? Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. Jerry Stubbs was one of the best wrestlers and never gets the credit he deserves.
Yep.
He was a tremendous wrestler, no doubt. Blackjack Mulligan.
Yeah, he was a great. I think he was a decent United States champion too. So yeah, I think Blackjack Mulligan would have been a good one.
Robert Walker said Ken Patera.
And he had that the Olympics going for him, and he was big and strong. Georgia, he didn't get over too good, but too well, but he did in the Carolinas and in AWA. I'm not sure what happened in Georgia. Something just didn't work out.
Well, Victor Nash said Ron Simmons, but Ron Simmons was the world heavyweight champion.
He was a WCW champion.
So he was the world heavyweight champion, and I thought he did a great job. Mickey Mayfield said Bruiser Brody.
I could see Bruiser, but Bruiser was one of those guys that didn't need a title.
No,
sure.
I don't think it would have made a difference in his career whatsoever.
How about Ole Anderson?
I mean, he could have, but Ole he positioned himself as a tag team wrestler, but he could have. He never really pushed himself in singles. It was always tag teams. I mean, he did. I think at one time he was a TV champion at one time, but it was very rare that he had a singles title. It was always in tag team, but that's what he specialized in, and most of the time he was the boss. So there you go.
This is true. This is true. Is there anyone else that we're missing that could have been a world heavyweight champion, and we were just overlooking it? Except for Rodney. Is there anyone else that should have been a world heavyweight champion?
Michael Barr was saying Bob Armstrong, and he would have been, because again, you have to have the flexibility to work both ways. And Victor was also saying Andre the Giant, Les Thornton.
Roddy Piper. Michael Halton said Roddy Piper, but he didn't really need the title.
Right.
Nick Bockwinkel was one of the greatest world champions of all time. So is there anybody we're missing? And then we're going to move on to another subject.
I believe right now you really caught me off guard on that one.
I thought I would get that, but hey, I thought we did a great job on it. Even if I just hit you up.
As far as all of the ones we talked about, and I've talked about it before, Ted DiBiase, and I'm not sure if a comment was made about Ted up there before, but Ted DiBiase, I think, would have been just top notch as world champion.
Yes, there's no doubt he would have been a great world champion. All right, let's change and talking. We're talking about wrestlers. Let's talk about managers for a moment. Jack, in your mind, what was the greatest manager of all time?
Bobby Heenan.
No doubt, Bobby Heenan, greatest manager of all time. Rodney?
It seems like when we were growing up, Gary Hart made a big impression, no matter where he went, whether he's managing the Spoiler or later on the Great Kabuki. Hart seemed to be at the center of everything. Of course, every era has its great managers. Of course, we go all the way back to the gentleman Saul Weingroff, and we have Jimmy Dykes, J.C. Dykes. We have Sam Bass. All of them brought something special to what they were doing. Of course, we were talking about Jim Crockett Promotions, Jim Crockett Sr. with Homer Odell. Each one of these great managers. Ron Fuller, great manager. Ron Wright. I mean, just awesome.
Victor Nash said James J. Dillon.
James J. Dillon, yeah.
Yeah, he was. What made James J. Dillon's when he would do the interview, he did it with such class. Have y'all ever seen when he was going to bring a tag team? Was it the Moondogs that he was going to bring to? And he just was able to do that interview that made you believe that he was something. And with him bringing it in, that it was really going to be tremendous, no doubt. Percy Pringle III, which I guess Paul Bearer would eventually be. Precious Paul Ellering, Victor Nash says.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mickey Mayfield says Rock Hunter. I guess for the time he was good. I always considered him, if it was between him and a Gary Hart or a Bobby Heenan or a James J. Dillon, I had to put him lower down on the thing. Michael Barr said the Tennessee Stud, Ron Fuller, back in his day, no doubt. Chad Coleman said, I love them, but Bobby the Brain Heenan is who he says. And I believe that because Bobby could do it all. The Grand Wizard of Wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we got to put Captain Lou Albano in this.
Yes, Fred Blassie. Yeah. Like I said, there's in each time. There's just great people. Just awesome people. Kid, like you were saying, Kim Ramey, Sam Bass. Awesome.
Sir Clements came, the first man that would carry something like he carried almost like the tennis racket of Jim Cornette. He would carry him an umbrella to the ring. And,
right. And then Saul, Gentleman Saul did too.
Richard Hood said Jim Cornette. Victor Nash said, well, Jim Cornette, even though I couldn't stand him. And that was the truth. In the back are wrestling fans. So Jim Cornette. People hated him even in the back. I think that Jerry Jarrett gave him the job as a manager because he thought somebody would kill him. That's what Bill Dundee told me. He said, really, he wanted somebody to kill you. He didn't like you that much. Let's see. Michael Halton said agrees during the 80s Cornette brought out the worst in everybody, and hiding behind Big Bubba Rogers only added to his yes, I agree. Jimmy Hart, yeah.
And
he said forget what he did in WWE. Because they never really done nothing with him.
No. His way of doing things didn't fit with that brand. It didn't. He shined in Memphis. He shined in Georgia when he was there. Terrible mistake when Bill Watts passed over him in the hopes of bringing Akbar and Humperdinck in. But yeah, it was a terrible mistake. But Jimmy Hart,
does Akbar go down as a great manager, or is he just he's more of a better wrestler than he was a manager?
I liked him as a manager. You know, I don't know if I'd rank him as one of the great ones, but he was certainly very good.
Richard Hood said Dandy Jack. Is that Dandy Jack Donovan? Is that who that is?
Dandy Jack.
By the way, I believe it was Jack Donovan that got. Is he not the one that got beat up by Jackie Fargo?
I believe you are exactly right.
Jarrett and Tojo Yamamoto, was he not the one that got beat up by them? And Dad felt bad because he felt like he was the one that made all that happen because he was refereeing the match between Jack Donovan and Tojo Yamamoto. Jack didn't want to do the finish that they were sent over, so Dad just being young goes over and says, "Hey, by the way, he don't want to do what he had." Oh, really? Right, that's fine.
Okay, that'll be fine. We'll just wing it.
Fine, we'll take care of that. And then they do take care of it. Tojo takes care of it in the ring, and then the next day, Tojo, Jerry Jarrett, Jackie Fargo, all three take care of old Dandy Jack and leave him, I think, really beat up really bad in a restroom at a TV station. So
yeah,
the old days of wrestling there. Michael said the trio of Wizard, Blassie, and Lou Albano in the WWF were part of the draw. Yes, and and when Roddy Piper was just managing in WWF, that was some good stuff. Yeah. Mr. Fuji,
yes, I like to make them suffer. Love that.
Scary Sherry.
Yeah, Sherry Martel.
Oh awesome.
Yeah. Especially with Doug Summers and what was the other Buddy Rose, just awesome with them. And then later on with Savage, she was great.
Richard Hood, Gorgeous George Jr. He was very good at what he did, especially in Southeastern. Arnold Skolin, because he threw in the towel and finally ended the Howdy Doody style.
And we failed to mention Paul Jones. He was pretty good. Paul Jones was definitely good.
Glenn Allen said Al Casey. How do you say that guy's name? Sheik
Adnan
Al Casey.
And he said also Bobby Heenan and Theodore Long was a good one.
Yeah.
Especially during the Doom days. I thought he did a really good with Ron Simmons and Butch Street. So many great managers. And it's hard, the only thing about when you're talking about managers, it's very hard to go through their career because when you're looking at matches, they didn't wrestle. So it's hard to chronic a manager's career unless they stayed with the same wrestler the whole time. And if they didn't, it's hard to really go through their careers. I've tried to do so, and it's very hard to keep a record of managers, and that's kind of sad, really, because now you can pretty much take Jim Cornette because he stayed with the Midnight Express. Really did not manage anyone else. But when you got Gary Hart, he would manage the Spuller, he would manage Mark Lewin, and he would manage all these people. It was very hard to keep track of who he managed. So
Nikolai Volkov, he did at one time. I mean, Abdullah. I mean, anybody. I mean, and then and let's not forget Gary Hart with Chris Adams in Texas.
Oh yeah, Gary was great. Gary was so good. I remember Gary Hart. He would just sit there, and people say, "Oh, he's don't do." But he was so smart. He knew the wrestling business so well. He would sit there and he'd just watch the match next to them, and all he had to do was get up out of his chair. The people would go nuts. They would just go nuts, and all he had to do is sit back down, and the people would calm back down. And if he wanted to get the people, he just stood back up. That's psychology. That's wrestling. That's missing today. People not knowing how to do that. Stuart Kemp said, "Gentleman, Jim Holiday, is that our friend, or is that who was our friend that came to Alabama?"
Jonathan Holiday. Brent.
Jonathan Holiday, yes.
That was the one that was fired on the set. No, that was not the same person.
All right, that ain't the same guy. Okay, that's good.
Somebody mentioned Eddie Crinchman on here, and he was intense. I'll just tell you right now, they've had to pull spectators off him a few times.
Yeah, Stuart Kemp said in the Cheek State.
Yeah, they had to pull. It would get so hot on him, he would be up on the ring and wondering where the police at. It was.
Well, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the managers because they don't. A lot of times, the managers don't get.
Cannon now also. George Cannon was also a big manager.
Yeah.
We'll go with one more, and then we'll get off it here. Stuart Kemp said, "Here's an interesting one. I'm not for sure how you say that. Do y'all know what that says? Akamasa, Yakamatsu, maybe. Originally from Calgary, Inoki wanted a manager's band, and Bad News Allen brought him with him." All right, I don't.
Mayfield said Sonny King.
Yeah, Sonny King. Let me tell you something, Arns Andersons, Jared Stubb. He had always put the S's where they wasn't, and then he would put where they're supposed to be an S, he would leave them out. I think he did that all on purpose, by the way.
Yeah, he was great. Michael Hayes was a good manager too.
Yes, he was. So many great managers in wrestling, and I think it's sorely missed today. Paul Heyman. Let's remember Paul.
Yeah, we forgot him. And Miss Linda, we have the valets. Miss Linda and Miss Brenda Britton.
And let's never forget Missy Hyatt.
Okay, well, we can get off the air now.
Now, once the name is mentioned, that's the end of the show. We thank you for joining us.
Hey, now, we have to give her, not to be honest with her and Dark Journey used to have some good fights. I mean, they were great, even though she would cry about it after.
Victor Nash, excuse me, has said a wrestler that should have been the world champion, Kevin Sullivan.
Well, he had the opportunity when he had the book, but he knew better.
If he was booking
Miss Elizabeth,
I will tell you, somebody said one time if he was booking, he would have been the one that ended Goldberg's streak. But he was not booking at the time. So.
Daniel Lang was talking about the manager who took the samurai sword to Val Venus.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. He was from
Apparently
Japan.
nobody does.
I bet Val does.
If you are watching this on Facebook, please like and share the page and let people know about Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. We got a lot of things coming up in 2021. Also, if you're watching those YouTube, give us that big thumbs up and subscribe to the page. 12 more people. Get over there. If you've not went over there, get over there. Subscribe to the page. That way we can get to 1,000. At least we can get to 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube page. and 12 more we will get there. If you would like to buy merchandise, I think Jack's probably got his one of his mugs there. You get you a Jack the Bomber mug, and all you have to do is go to the Facebook, scroll down a little bit, and you'll see it on there. Also coming soon, we're going to have a huge thing where we're going to do a supporting. You can support the page, you can support, and it's through Facebook, and we're going to be doing some extra live stuff, and we'll be talking about some stuff that we can't really talk on here. As we said, we'll tell you a story about the Road Dogg and Jamie Dundee. When Road Dogg was on the first television and USA Championship Wrestling, it was a good story. Me and Rodney can share a great story about that. And then there's other things when you share as well on those. And plus, we get a little bit more personal with each person. Rodney, anything that we've missed that we need to talk about?
We're going to have any American Starship Eagle T-shirts on the website. People will be lining up for that.
I don't think
coming soon as Sting is a POS. We'll also be coming virtually as well.
Oh,
Stay tuned
Jack,
for the David Crockett shirts also.
That's right.
That just in big letters it just says, "What's this?"
Watch it.
this is true. This is true. Okay, folks, thank you so much for being a part of the show. We certainly appreciate it. Whether you're watching this live or you watch us on the replay, more people watch us on the replay, and we certainly do appreciate it. And we appreciate everyone that comes here and watches us live each and every week and participates in the talking about professional wrestling. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Rodney. And we'll see you next Monday live right here as Pro Wrestling Inside and Out continues. We'll talk about Mid-South Wrestling. We'll talk about there may be some other stuff that I'll just throw right out there on Jack and Rodney. They hadn't even know that we're going to talk about since I threw two things on them on this episode. All right, folks, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode of Pro Wrestling Inside and Out Live.